You've probably been there, staring at your computer screen for an hour, reading the same paragraph over and over, and absorbing absolutely nothing. The standard response is to blame yourself for a lack of discipline, but that misses what is actually happening inside your nervous system. This diagram shows the body during a high-pressure moment. Stress is a powerful, aggressive physical shift that actively reroutes resources away from the deep thinking centers of your brain. Understanding this requires a look at 4 specific mechanics: the stress response shift, the attention tunnel, the chronic trap, and finally, the brain drain. Trying to force focus while you are stressed means going to war against millions of years of evolutionary programming. This passage from Emily and Amelia Nagoski's research isolates a crucial distinction. Your stress is entirely separate from your stressors. A stressor is the external threat, like a looming deadline. Stress is the neurological shift happening inside your body. The moment your brain perceives that deadline as a threat, it initiates a chemical cascade. It instantly dumps epinephrine into your bloodstream to pump blood harder and glucocorticoids to keep your muscles going. Evolution perfected this chemical flood for a single objective. If a predator is chasing you, your body primes itself for immediate, explosive physical action, fight or flight. This illustration shows how your body manages that sudden demand for energy. It forces an immediate biological trade-off. Resources are actively drained from long-term projects, like digestion, immune response, and complex thought in the prefrontal cortex, and violently pushed into your arms and legs. The stress response intentionally pauses complex thought so you can survive the next 10 seconds. This diagram represents a calm brain's cognitive scope. When you feel safe, your attention is expansive. You can hold a wide perspective, connect distant ideas, and piece together complex solutions over time. But when survival chemicals hit, the brain forces an attention tunnel. Memory and processing power are shoved into a highly restricted, rigid scope, blurring out the periphery. If you are fleeing a wild animal, your brain must block out your 5-year plan or your grocery list. It narrows your entire reality down to finding the closest tree to climb or the quickest escape route. In a modern office, your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. It is limiting your attention so it can rapidly scan your environment for immediate, short-term threats rather than long-term strategy. This biological feature aggressively blocks out long-term thinking to prioritize immediate survival at the direct expense of your focus. Historically, this intense physical state had a clear endpoint. As this text explains, if you outran the predator, you survived. Your body recognized the physical exertion of running as a signal of safety, completing the cycle and flushing out the chemicals. Today, our threats are mostly invisible. You cannot physically sprint away from a bad economy, a shrinking budget, or a passive-aggressive email from your boss. This section outlines exactly what happens when we face a frustrating situation at work. We sit politely at our desks. We suppress the massive physiological urge to fight or flee, and we act socially appropriate. This animation illustrates the result of sitting still. Because no physical action is taken, your nervous system never receives the signal that you are safe. The cycle never completes, trapping you in the middle of a survival response. You might resolve the external work problem by sending a polite reply, but that does not resolve your internal biology. Your brain is left perpetually soaked in survival chemicals. Your brain operates mechanically, much like a physical muscle. After intense chemical exertion, it requires periods of deep recovery to consolidate information and repair tissues. This 3D model shows what happens when incomplete stress cycles deny the brain that recovery phase. We are looking specifically at the hippocampus, the center for memory and learning. When stress hormones circulate chronically without a flush, they actively degrade cognitive capacity. Over time, the constant chemical bath literally shrinks these memory and learning centers, stripping away neural connections. A chronic lack of focus is the end result of this process. The physical machinery for mental clarity is eroded by the chemicals meant to keep you alive. This timeline maps the entire sequence. We start with the stress response shift, which triggers the attention tunnel. Without physical release, we fall into the chronic trap, which ultimately leads to the brain drain. Focus is a biological state that requires physiological recovery. Chronic stress physically dismantles our capacity to do deep work. Thanks for watching. For more breakdowns on how biology impacts your work, subscribe to KR Simplified.